the select. Here we go. And why is it always like you're doing something brand new when you're on a Zoom call? Share that one. Share. Almost there. There. If somebody could let me know if they can see my remind to record orientation.
Yes, it's up. Your PowerPoint is up and operating beautifully.
Perfect. Thank you. I was going to do one more thing. I'll put a few links, email addresses in the chat to everyone. Okay. Um, Trying to see if there is. Oh, I need to admit one more person. So many things to do as one person. Um, well, thank you all for spending a little bit of your evening with me. My name is Susan Campbell. I'm the Community Investment and Development Manager for the Salt Lake City Arts Council. And you are here this evening to learn about the project support round two grants and the guidelines. This is a brief overview to sort of give you the ins and outs of the application, and but I highly recommend that you read the guidelines in detail so that you can find out all of the intricate details that you need. Let me figure out how to move to the next slide. There we are. Um, so our guidelines, I just dropped in the chat function a link to our guidelines. They're found on our website, which is saltlakearts.org. And you can ignore the spot where it says general operating support because this is project support that we are talking about today. Um, at any point in time, you can send me an email with any questions you have. During this presentation, if you have questions, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. I'll try to see you, but unmuting and just saying excuse me might be the quickest way and best way to get my attention. Important dates and requirements. So the application opened a couple weeks ago on September 15th. And this application period is for projects that are going to take place next year. So between the dates of February 1st and August 31st of 2026. We do run two cycles of project support grants every year, and this is round two. So it's only for the last 6 months of our grant year. Um, we have the orientation today, which I will go over the high level of the guidelines, but I do recommend that you read the fine print in the actual guidelines, which are linked on our website. And then the application will close on a Sunday evening, November 2nd. So you'll want to make sure that your application is submitted before 11:59 p.m. And I always recommend submit it at least a day or two early, just in case, something happens where you run out of time or your internet's not quite working right. Submitting earlier is always the best idea because we are unable to accept any late applications. And then as part of the grant application process, you will be required to submit a final report for your application. So um, your application tells me what you want to do, and that final report will tell me, all the great things that happened with your arts-based project. So, program overview. So, as I mentioned, we do the project support grants twice per year, and we have about $70,000 to award. And I'm going to cover this on a future slide, but I'll say it now anyways. You can apply for either a $2,000 or a $4,000 grant, and we will fund as many projects as we can. These projects need to take place within Salt Lake City boundaries. So Salt Lake County is a larger entity, but we are looking within Salt Lake City districts. And there is a link within the application and the guidelines to help you figure out if where your project is taking place so that you know for sure. And every arts project that happens, there needs to be some sort of community engagement activity. So if you're doing a performance, the performance is your community engagement activity, or an art exhibit when the people are able to come see your exhibit, that is the community engagement. There's one exception to this, and that is murals. If you're painting a mural, the mural is the community engagement. You don't necessarily need to have like an opening celebration for the mural, but just the painting of the mural is enough. Be in a highly visible area that the broader community can enjoy. So, an outdoor space that is viewable as you walk by or drive by. So, there is a specific section on murals in the applications. And then, new this year is that an individual or an organization can only apply once per year. Um, so if you did apply in project support round one, and whether you were funded or not funded, you are not eligible to apply in round two. Um, you will be able to apply again next spring when we move into the FY27 grant year. Any questions so far? Okay, moving on. So, as
I
I've,
had a,
oh,
excuse
oh,
me.
yes,
I'm sorry,
Madeline.
I couldn't unmute. Is it better to, I mean, can, you said $2,000 or $4,000? I mean, do you decide then which way to go with that or?
No, you'll be making that decision when you select the application. So, if you're applying for $2,000, you do need to have some sort of in-kind or not in-kind support, some sort of community support. So this can be letters of reference. This can be through showing that you've done a similar project and the impact it's had on the community. Um, so $2,000 does not require any matching funds. $4,000, if you apply for that, you need to have at least $2,000 in matching. So your project needs to cost at least $6,000. I imagine, Madeline, with your doing a full set of projects related to the accordion festival, that you would probably have the matching, so you could
Oh,
apply
yes.
for 4,000.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So again, these projects need to take place between February through August 31st. That's anything that you're using the funds for. So we did have an application last year where somebody was doing an art exhibit, and part of the work had been done prior to that first date. So in um, February 1st. And so in the application, they were applying to pay for work that had happened before that date. And that is not acceptable. It needs to be all the activities that the grant is paying for need to happen between February 1st and August 31st. Um, and for community councils, so these are the neighborhood councils. If they're applying for a grant, they're more than welcome to. It needs to be an event that's happening for the wider community, not just for your neighborhood, but you're eligible to apply for up to $2,000. So at the lower level grant. Any questions? Okay. Eligibility. So the project support grants are opened to nonprofit organizations, individual artists, or groups of artists, so collective of some sort. We are not able to fund businesses. So a business entity cannot apply, but an individual doing a project can apply. If you have, more questions, specific issues, I can answer those at the end of this webinar, or feel free to send me an email and we can talk about a specific situation. Again, the project and the activities that you're applying for must take place between February and August 31st. They must have some sort of community engagement. That can be a ticketed event. So if you're having a performance and there is a fee to um, attend to that performance, that is perfectly fine. We love to see opportunities, though, where a community member who would like to attend but may not be able to afford it has the opportunity to attend. So if there are ways in which you're giving tickets to community members who maybe can't afford it, please list those in your application. You have to provide evidence of community support. This can be through your matching funds. It can be through a letter of support. There's a whole list in the guidelines of different ways of showing evidence of community support. And as I mentioned, the projects need to take place within Salt Lake City boundaries. So, and keep moving forward. Limitations. I did change these slides, so I'm a little disoriented by the way I'm presenting the information this time. Um, so we're not able to fund anything that's taken that any part of your programming that will take place outside of that time frame that I have said, or projects that are already funded by the Salt Lake City Arts Council. So if you are a performer in the Living Traditions Festival and you're looking for additional funds for that particular performance, we're not able to fund you through project support and for that performance at the Living Traditions Festival. Um, Programs or travel outside of the area are not allowed. As I mentioned, we're not able to support for-profit businesses with this grant opportunity. And then the programs need to be open to the broad community so that anybody can attend. It cannot be a members only type event. Um, I think that covers everything on that slide. I will keep moving forward. Again, if you have any questions, please unmute and let me know. So mural requirements. Um, Salt Lake City loves murals, and we would love to have more murals. And if you're applying for a mural, um, please reach out if you have any questions. So murals need to be in a highly visible area. So making sure that there aren't any fences that prevent the broader public from being able to view the mural. And then there are a couple additions. We want to see an image of the wall that you'll be painting, and we do need a letter of agreement from the property owner stating that you have permission as the artist to paint that wall. If you're the owner of the wall, we still do need that letter from you in the application, and we want to know about the ways in which you're going to engage the community in making sure that this fits within the broader neighborhood space. We ask that you certify that you'll adhere to all city regulations. There are some sign ordinances that you should read through if you're looking to paint a mural to make sure that you're within those ordinances. Um, and then the artist and the property owner are required to facilitate all the permitting and contracts and regulatory requirements for that. We highly recommend that an anti-graffiti coating is applied after you paint the mural. And you can include that cost in your budget, of course. Any questions on murals? Okay. A few limitations on murals. They cannot depict anything obscene, explicit material, or hate speech. And this is part of the sign ordinances, all three of these. Be a sign for a business. So say you're painting it on the side of a Starbucks, it cannot say Starbucks across it. That would be considered a sign. So, and then there is an ordinance regarding regarding older buildings that you can't paint unpainted brick. So there are exceptions for cinder block. So that would be something to look into with the ordinance to make sure you're within those guidelines. So more important dates. So the applications are going to be due on November 2nd, as I mentioned. And after they are submitted, I'll review them for eligibility. And if there are any questions about eligibility that can be resolved with an email, you should watch for an email from um, either that arts grants at slc.gov or from the email address through our grants portal. And that'll notify you if there are any updates needed in your application to meet eligibility. The grant review committee will be reviewing them over November and December timeframe, and they will make a recommendation to the board, and it'll go in front of the Arts Council Board of Directors in January for approval. If you're approved, you'll receive notification on or before January 30th by email. All notifications will come by email. And your first payment of half the grant funds will be sent in February of 2026. All final reports are due within 30 days of the completion of the project or by September 30th, 2026. And once we receive your final report, we'll review it. And if it is approved, then your second payment will come through. Or if there are any questions, I'll reach out via email to get those, to get everything finalized so we can get the funds to you. Moving forward. So all notifications, as I mentioned, come by email. So please make sure that the grant software, I can't recall the exact email address, but you'll get your first notification when you sign up for the grants portal from that email address. Are whitelisted so that they definitely come through. You'll want to check your spam when you first sign up for the grants email to make sure you can find that email address. And also the arts grants at slc.gov. Those are the two email addresses you'll receive notifications from. So scoring, we do provide the scoring rubric in our guidelines, and you can open up that PDF and or Word document and see exactly how we're going to be reviewing the grant applications. And that is the same rubric that the reviewers are given. So 40% of your score will be based on your project description and the timeline, and then artistic vibrancy. And the questions and prompts will help you to develop a as detailed of a project description and how you're going to be working to make Salt Lake City a more vibrant community. 40%, and the second 40% will be about community impact. So, what niche are you fulfilling with your project? Um, you know, uh, and then the second half of that is access and belonging. So how are you making this project available to community members who might not feel um, able to come to your performances or know about your performances? How are you making them feel welcome? Are you allowing for disabled or hearing impaired patrons to attend and enjoy your event? And the last 20% is sound management. So this is through your community support, your in-kind support, the cash match if you have matching funds for your project, and then the budget form. So have you thought through your project completely? Making sure you have all the materials. How are you paying artists? And how are you deciding which artists get paid? Um, we highly encourage that you pay artists, but there are circumstances where maybe you're working with students and so they receive less pay in order to get the experience of working. But giving people experience opportunities is not the equivalent of actually paying them. So we'd love to see artists being paid. Any questions about the rubric? Okay. So, whoops, sorry about that. Um, the budget. The budget needs to balance. So if your project costs $2,000, you should show that you're asking for the $2,000 $2,000 grant. And then things are moving around on my screen. Um, and then you should have expenses that also equal $2,000. So if you're asking for $4,000, you'll need to have that $4,000 of the grant, $2,000 of matching, and then a total of at least $6,000. Of course, depending on how much matching funds you have and how much your project costs, those amounts will vary, but the incomes need to equal the expenses. The grant review panel does look at the budget and they love to see explanations. So if you say, my event is going to cost $5,000 for other expenses, the review committee does look at that and say, what are those other expenses? And so there is a section in the budget right to the right of where you would put that expense that you can explain that that includes, say it's a dance performance, renting Marley, and you know, costumes or whatever it is. They want to see a little bit more detail than just simply numbers on that sheet. And those numbers should match to your project description. So if you're doing a dance performance, we expect that there is going to be some sort of venue that you're going to rent. And so was that an in-kind cost? Is somebody donating the space to you? Or is that a $500 expense for that venue? Um, and, of course, there's the combination of, they're giving you a lower cost rate. And so you would have both the expense in there, and then there's a separate space where you'd put in-kind donations. So whether it's somebody donating a service to you or actual merchandise or items that you would need. And as I mentioned, if you are requesting $4,000, you are required a match of at least 50%. So you do need to bring $2,000 of funds to the project, whether that is cash from your savings or your investment in the project, or it's a sponsorship or another grant that you've received matching those funds. Um, So I think I am close to my last slide. So there is an FAQs on the web page that I recommend you check if you have questions. You're more than welcome to send me an email at artsgrants@slc.gov. And then there are also office hours available. So the link that I put in the chat earlier had the Calendly link will give you options to schedule a 25-minute meeting with me, and we can go over specific questions you have. And I can even help you as you're going through if you have, you're stuck on access and belonging, and what can I say about my project? We can chat about that, and you know, I can give you prompts to really figure out because most people are doing things, you know, ha they have responses whether they have thought of them or not. So we can workshop some of your answers, or I can answer specific questions you have as we're going or as you're filling out the application. So please do reach out after you've read through the guidelines and looked at those frequently asked questions. I'm happy to meet with anybody who needs more help. So let me figure out how to stop the slideshow. Stop share. That way I can see you all again. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
I just had one about, I have looked at it pretty well. The demographics of your organization. I mean, we don't ask age, race, things like that. I mean, is that what you're looking for?
As much as you have, you know, if you don't collect the demographics, I don't want you to guess and say, you know, 50% are, you know, this age, this whatever. But if you can typically talk about your organization. I'm guessing that you probably have some youth accordionists. I would love to see them. Be fun. Through, you know, a wide range of ages. So you can talk about it more from a generic standpoint if that fits.
Okay. Okay.
And I just tried to do a calendar and set up a meeting with you, and it didn't work. So I'm assuming, I know, sorry.
No.
It could be the conflict with Zoom. I'm not sure, but I appreciate
Okay.
everything. I'm going to try again later. Okay.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
just so,
It is on the website. If
okay.
it isn't, or the link is, I think the link that I just put in the
It
chat
just
shows it.
works. It just worked now. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and if you have a problem with it again, you know, just send me a couple times that work for you. Um, I'm open to, you know, these time frames are during the workday, and I understand that some artists already have a job and maybe they can't meet during those times. So if you do need to meet after hours, this goes to anybody, not just Andrew. Please do reach out with a couple times. That'll work, and I'm happy to schedule after hours, before hours. I'm not as happy about before hours though.
Works great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today,
You-
Susan. Very thorough. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else online have any questions? Hey, Dana.
I'm going to take off. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Night. Yeah, and anybody who is got their information are welcome to pop off as well. I'm happy to stay for a few more minutes until everybody disappears. I'm going to
Hey,
stop
thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm going to stop the recording too.